Good morning again, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and that is the idea of presuppositions. Assumptions is another way to put it. Assumptions like the for example, locks on doors. It is presumed by most people of the world that this is a prudent thing. Some basic security around your house is a good thing. But there's an attached presupposition to this that people just don't think about. And while I'm not recommending anything one way or the other, I'm saying that locks on doors presumes that the world is a hostile place. Okay, so is it? I mean, you might say, well, obviously it is. We hear about this all the time in the news. We hear about tragedies, people getting, robbed or raped, and we know stories and from movies and whatnot. Okay, I'll give you that. Things happen for sure. But is the world at large a hostile place? And the bigger question here isn't whether the world is a hostile place or whether locks are prudent. It is, how often are we presupposing things without actual evidence and without prudence? And finally, ultimately, is it helpful? Is it beneficial in the long run to keep our friends out of our spaces? Because that's the alternative. And I think it's noteworthy on this example that it hasn't always been this way. And in fact, in parts of the world, it is currently not this way. There are places in Canada which are famous for being very loose and lax with their security, and they're very safe communities. They're very happy, safe communities, friendly, safe communities, and they just refuse to lock their doors or their cars. And I've met these people. They exist. And to some of us, it seems wildly strange. It seems like it's something that should be managed. And I've heard people say this, and it's scary. It's scary to think that somebody can't even see the reason why there might be another way to do it. They presume that the way that they learned, the way that they view the world is the only logical way. This is called being narrow-minded. It's called being closed-minded. And if you can't even imagine a better world, whether it exists or not, whether it's real or not, if you can't even imagine a world where locks are superfluous, largely, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you're not going to be an author, that's for sure, but you're also not going to be happy in this world, because you're going to assume so many things because the news sensationalized some bullshit story. You're going to, see some scary movie, and you're going to run home and invest in, bars for your windows, and you're going to start living like a rat in a cage because because the movie was scary or whatever. And all right, so things do happen. I don't mean to say that things don't happen. What I mean to say, and it's the same message as in many of my videos, to err on the side of safety is to take a downhill path. To err on the side of cowardice versus optimism, that is a vote of confidence that something might work out or be successful, or that, leaving yourself a little bit vulnerable to chance in a good way is a good thing. Without that perspective, you're going downhill. You're degrading your quality of life on a long enough timeline. And I'm going to wrap up this video with one last observation, that people do this so often without realizing it. It is the root of all of our problems. I believe that war is caused by us collectively going downhill by making cowardly decisions, one after another. It's no one decision. No single decision brings us to the brink of war, or brings us to the brink of, famine or economic despair. It brings us collectively, one decision at a time, made in the name of safety for no better reason, towards a downhill slope. And you know what's down there? You know what's at the bottom of that hill? All the nasty stuff that rolls downhill. And you've heard the expression, and it's true. War rolls downhill. It's down there where you took the cowardly path, where you took the path that did not expose you to diplomacy, that did not give the other person a vote of confidence or the benefit of the doubt. And somebody did that so many times that finally now there's no other choice. Okay, this is how it happens. It's not a mystery. War is not a mystery. Problems with quality of life are not a mystery. It turns out that we live in an economic system where safety sells. You have to sell stuff here. And If you ever wonder why there was so much conflict between capitalism and communism historically over the years, and maybe it's news to you, but there absolutely has been. In fact, more than half of our wars in this country, besides the Civil War, have been fought, whether you realize it or not, in the name of an economic model, fighting for capitalism versus something else. Even the Vietnam conflict, if you're not aware, the French North Vietnamese, who we were fighting in that war, were backed by the communists. Oh, not common knowledge. But here's the thing. Why is there so much strife? Why is there so much conflict over this idea? Someone thinks that capitalism, or what we have here now a little bit currently, not so much anymore, but is not a good idea. That it's a short-term profit model, it's unsustainable, and it creates a problem when everybody has to pay their bills and everything becomes for sale. Does any of this sound familiar? Does it sound familiar that we're creating as many products as we possibly can, good or bad, just to see what sells so that we can pay our bills? Does it sound familiar that hospitals are only serving people with insurance, and the prices are just like comical? They're just astronomical for these prescription drugs that nobody could possibly pay for themselves without insurance. Okay, these problems all connect to the economic system. So finally, tying it back to the subject, preconceptions. To preconceive, to presume that there's no better way, that the way our parents taught us, that the way their parents taught them, our grandparents taught us to, is correct just because they experienced it, that is the definition of confirmation bias. That's the definition of being closed-minded, and it's the definition of eventually dying in nuclear holocaust. Okay? I'm not making this up. You make cowardly decisions, and you refuse to open your mind to other possibilities, you're going to go downhill a little bit at a time until you're at the bottom, where there's no other option. It's not complicated. Reach out with questions or comments. Have a great day. Make the courageous choice. All things being equal, take the difficult path. Go uphill. If you have no other clues, that's the right way. But there's usually other clues. whitehatrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.